If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic. One of the easiest ways that you can determine if a person is emotionally mature and capable of doing relationships well is they manage their emotions well. Narcissists are notorious for butchering the emotional side of life. Some of them just don't know how to deal with it. They can't access their emotions well, so they can just kind of go into a more rigid and stiff kind of mode, and they just won't talk about it at all. Others, though, they can become so easily flustered that their emotions are all over the board and everybody's wondering what in the world got this person so upset. They think of themselves as being so superior to you. And I know that many of you have had episodes where these individuals try to make you feel like you're foolish or you're the one who's the problem. But as you watch how they manage their emotions, you realize these people aren't in any kind of position to claim superiority at all. They're very much in a childlike state of dysregulation. Now, I want to see if we can walk through some of the indicators of this emotional weakling style of engaging with emotions and see if these seem very familiar to you as you engage with that person. For example, when the narcissist goes into their emotionality, they have almost a complete lack in that moment of reasoning. Whether they go into their anxiety mode, where they're tense and anxious, or mostly you'll see them go into their anger mode, where there's an agitation and irritability, and the emotion is completely devoid of any kind of reason. There's no kind of logic as to how they're going to proceed because they're not thinking. There's just this raw reaction that's starting in the amygdala, and they don't know how to stop it. In addition, they can be prone to grossly exaggerated temper tantrums, or perhaps even what we might refer to as animalistic aggression. How many times have you been around a narcissist and you thought things were going okay, and then boom, you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and they just come unglued, unhinged? That's not the sign of an emotionally strong individual at all. That's a sign of weakness. It's their way of saying, well, when something happens in ways I don't like, I'm just going to fall apart. That's what it's all about. In addition, during their emotional expressions, they tend to go straight towards making demands. They tell you what you should have said or what you have to do or what you better do to keep them happy. And that implies that there's no particular internal strength that they're drawing upon. It's like, no, I've got to get everything out there to be exactly as I say, because I have nothing in here that's going to keep me regulated. Now, that being the case, we can also see that in the midst of their difficult emotions, they go straight into a rigidity mode or inflexibility. They use what we refer to as imperative thinking. Everything has to be the certain way that they say it's supposed to line up. Lots of musts and oughts toward you, towards themselves. And again, that implies that there's nothing from the inside out that they're drawing upon. Narcissists, in the midst of their emotions, have a very poor assessment of reality. For example, they may say things like, I can't believe you're saying this, or I can't believe this happened that's going to make me miserable. When in fact, life has lots of things that don't go according to the way we want. And so when they kind of have this, what are you doing this to me for? I can't believe this. It's their way of implying, I didn't realize disappointment would come my way, or disagreements. You mean I have to deal with that too? They're not reality-based in the way that they engage. They're quick to blame in the midst of emotions rather than saying, hey, let's sit down and talk this thing out. Instead, what they do is, okay, look what you've done to me now, and look how you're making my life miserable. And they just go straight into that form of attack. They're slow when I say slow, not at all, to take responsibility for themselves. When you have emotional stress and strain, it's fair to say, well, wait a minute. I need to figure out why I'm feeling this way and what's triggering me and what this means and how I can do a better job. They don't do that. Instead, shame is an ongoing issue that they have not come to terms with. Now, they'll hardly ever say, I feel shame within myself. What they'll do is they'll say, shame on you for differing from me. But that's a projection, because deep down on the inside, they have this fear of being inadequate or looking wrong or acting wrong or being disapproved of. And so shame is very much an unresolved kind of an issue that drives their emotional immaturity. And then they use what we refer to as displacement. Let's suppose that something has happened at work that they didn't like and they're upset, and so they go home and kick the dog. That's displacement. By the way, that's one of Gus's least favorite techniques that people have. How many times have you been on the receiving end of a narcissist's emotional immaturity, and they can lay into you, and you realize, no, actually, you were mad at someone else. Why are you putting this on to me? And so when we talk about narcissism, one of the things we're referring to is they are in very much an emotionally weakened state. They're weaklings. And it's so important for you because it creates, to understand this, because it creates a challenge on your behalf. First and foremost, as you watch and interact with these individuals, you want to remind yourself, I can't let these people establish my pace. I don't want to respond in kind because it's not going to end well. And I want you to just be honest. How many times have you interacted with a narcissist who's in this emotionally weakened state, and before you know it, you get pulled into unnecessary arguments? It's futile to try to pull them out of this pattern and try to make them see the light and take responsibility for that which they don't even acknowledge is theirs to receive. I have a very simple philosophy on trying to talk with an emotionally driven narcissist, and it's an analogy, and that is, you can't talk to a drunk about sobering up while they're still drunk. And you can't talk to an emotionally dysregulated narcissism about being regulated while they're still emotionally dysregulated. It just doesn't fit the scheme. So I'm hoping you can recognize when you're in the presence of someone who thinks and reacts this way, somebody in this equation needs to be the responsible person. It's not going to be that childlike narcissist. Narcissists are in what we refer to as a fixated state, going way back into their ways of engaging with the world. They never really learned what we refer to as emotional competence. Let me give you a real cute idea. My wife and I were in the presence of some little preschool kids not long ago, and one of the kids was disappointed in what the other one was doing. And you could just watch this little girl as she was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And she had been coached up really well by her parents, because instead of crying or lashing out, you could just see the wheels turning. Okay, this is not happening the way I want. What am I going to do instead? And as a result, she wound up managing herself well and didn't get pulled into this other child's emotional immaturity. And we remarked afterwards, it's like, that was really cool to watch a little preschool kid trying to figure out, who am I emotionally and where am I going and how am I going to establish my pace despite that person over there. 4 or 5-year-old little kid. How about that? You can have a 44-year-old narcissist, and they're still not at that point of doing what that little toddler did. When we talk about having emotional maturity, it means that we say problem solving is prioritized over outbursts. Respect is prioritized over caustic attitudes. Inner resolve is prioritized over external conformity. And acceptance of imperfection is prioritized over impossible idealisms. These are truths, and these are thoughts that narcissists haven't pondered well. They think of that as being, some sort of psychobabble, but it's the real thing. So I'm hoping that as you see narcissists in their emotionally weakened state, it's like, whoa, I am not about to let some kid that's operating in a way that, some 4 or 5-year-olds can do better than this. I'm not going to let them pull me under. I'm hoping that you can be on Team Healthy that says steadiness, calmness, resolve, self-respect is what I stand for. If this person's not able to go into that space, that's on them. And I hope that videos such as this give you some good food for thought. And as you, if you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. And more videos can come your way. There's a notification bell you can hit there. If you have a need for counseling, if you want somebody that can help you unpack things like this, if there's someone in your area, I would encourage you to seek that out. Or if you would prefer the alternative, we have a sponsor who has an online counseling service, and we have a link below that can take you to that. There's a whole team of licensed professional counselors that you can choose from that could help you with things like this. In addition, we have my courses, and these are not just one-off webinars, although we have those that are upcoming as well. But the courses have a whole series of videos and written material and pensive questions, and it's meant to be a very strong therapeutic tool. This is Me, which talks about establishing boundaries or free to be, finding yourself despite the controllers. We have resources to my books and Instagram and all like that underneath, so make yourself available to our resources. Well, unfortunately, these are emotionally immature people, but I'm hoping that as you see that and experience what they throw your direction, you're going to operate with a sense of resolve that says, I can do better. I'm going to be the better alternative. I'm on Team Healthy. I stand for calmness, firmness, respect, and most importantly, that positions you to live in your place of peace.